was some smell coming from the room. And then they kicked open the door, and I saw her hanging on the fan in that house. And that for me was a very painful moment. I stood with my head in shame, and my dad came back, took me home, and said that the school that you're going, everybody hates you. Nobody wants you there. He used to say that discipline comes first and education comes second. So he tried his best to look at my deficits and trying to fix me as a person. Hi, I'm Mithun Noble. I'm the founder and CEO of Insight Childcare. I'm an ADHD-preneur. I don't use that term lightly. I believe that ADHD and entrepreneurship are two core parts of me. I built Insight Childcare, which is one of the platforms which provides support for neurodiverse children like children with autism, ADHD, and learning disabilities to help them to be part of the mainstream school system. I'm also the founder of Spot Micro School, an alternative school where children who don't fit in regular schools can come and finish their schooling. But if you ask me one place I really dreaded to go, that was my own school. I really thought that I'm not going to be a great fit in my school, and I really struggled in my school. To just take back to my kindergarten admission, to give you a context of the story, uh, my principal asked me some questions, and what I did was took the paperweight and threw it at her. And despite that, she took admission for me in the school. And over the 10 years that I studied in the school, she constantly used that reference saying that I should have kicked you out the moment you walked in and threw the paperweight at me. Because it was right. Like, I was a misfit in this class. I would constantly land in trouble. I would constantly be the one who was moving around, fidgeting, or like dawdling in the class, or not listening to the teachers, and sometimes just talking to my peers and just discussing, irritating them in the class while the class was going on, and disrupting the whole flow of the class. So they used to call my mother and tell that your son is intelligent but unmanageable. When you're a child with ADHD in class, the one thing that you're constantly struggling with is being there is so much of stimulation in the class, right? You're like constantly distracted by by सभी सब चीज बहुत इंटरेस्ट लगता है क्लास पे. सो जिसमें फोकस करूं जिसमें ना फोकस करूं, उस पर कोई अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है. And you're like driven by a motor, so you just keep running around. And one day the teacher called my mom and told that your son is intelligent but such a misfit to the class. And they asked me to take me take me to some kind of support. But my mom said that we will work on this. I had two sets of parents. My father was a policeman who was a strict disciplinarian who believed that the way to fix me was probably making me learn more of discipline. So he used to say that discipline comes first and education comes second. So he tried his best to look at my deficits and trying to fix me as a person, tried to make me a morning person, woke me up, did all the police thing that he could do possible. But while my mother on the other side, I think it is also because probably we say that ADHD also has a genetic history. So probably she grew up in a household where there were more neurodiverse adults. My grandfather was one of my first inspiration. He ran multiple businesses, succeeded and failed as an entrepreneur, never was financially stable, and that scared my mom a bit. Mom had two brothers who did not finish schooling, and she was an engineer. So that family had very interesting traits, and because of that, probably she understood me better. She understood that I am not someone who would sit and learn. So she used to take me. We grew up in Trivandrum, so she would take me to the museum and make me run around the museum, and then I would come back and do my homework and learnings with her. The same way, she would also ask me to read anywhere that I wanted. She just said, I just wanted to see you read because you're not being motivated by the school, so just at least learn by yourself. And I could take the books to the bathroom. I could take the books to when I was traveling. I could read the book while I was having my food. And just reading became my other thing that I could escape the world from. I started even carrying books to school so that I don't have to listen to class and I can just read the books that I carried with me. And her understanding of that, I have a very messy room. I pile up different things in that house. I am all over the place. And she would come and say once in a week saying that, please fix your room. And it was not like a pressure on me to keep constantly clean my room or something like that. And I think it just came very naturally to her to support me on that. When I reached my teens, I realized that the rebellious side of me started coming out slowly. I call this the other side or my imposter, which is the voice that it was listening to the world. What teachers were telling about me, what my peers were telling about me, what everybody was pointing out were my faults. And that became me. I started accepting that this is who I am. I am not liked by anybody. Anybody that I made friends with in school, the teachers would change them the next year, thinking that because I'm disturbing that child, and the child is not probably going to have a great life outcome, and they got removed out. So I did not have any friends. So I remember in 8th standard, I sat alone in a bench, and like teachers were targeting me for every other thing. I think I would like to think that I was the most outstanding student in the school, because I was most of the time standing outside the class and not inside. And that was a journey that I took. And it came to a point where finally, even the things that I was good at started bouncing back and hitting me bad. Like, for example, in 1 year, I was the best actor in my school. The same year, towards the end of the year, I got caught for doing a play um, against the management. By then, there had a history of complaints piled up. I had done almost everything that you would expect a child who's probably rebelling to do. I had stolen from my friends. I had picked fights. I had I had copied in my exams. Everything that's possible in a school rule book, I have done by then, including writing a love letter to a girl and being caught for it. And then I ended up in my principal's room, I was waiting, dreading that my father is going to come. And my father came in his police jeep with his sub-inspector of police. They came, they walked past me, and and my dad gave me a look, and he was like, "You're finished," kind of a look. और like any other मोहनलाल फैन, मैंने सोचा कि अब मैं बॉम्बे चले जाऊँ, कोई गुंड बन जाऊँ, कोई बिजनेसमैन बन जाऊँ, पढ़ाई तो खत्म, इधर इधर ही खत्म हो जाएगा. And I stood with my head in shame, and my dad came back, took me home, and said that the school that you're going, everybody hates you, nobody wants you there, but I am not going to change your school to another school. I'm going to put you back in the same school. You have to survive one more year, which is your 12th standard. And if you're able to survive that 1 year and control yourself and manage yourself, you will succeed in life, or your education is finished. You can go to farming. We have 1 acre of farm. Go do farming over there. And that was the point in my life where I went to a school almost every day, came back home, cried, hated every bit of that schooling life, felt that I was not good for anything. I struggled through that entire 1 year. I remember there was an IQ test being conducted in school, and I had one of the highest scores in IQ. But the teacher just thought that I cheated for the test. But unlucky for her, I ended up getting the same test for my board practicals. And I still scored, I think, a higher score than the previous one I had. And we say that, right? Like sometimes a woman has to work twice as hard as a man to be recognized. I feel if you're a neurodivergent child in a classroom, you probably need to work 5x more to be recognized for the same things that other kids would do. I ended up going to a college, and one thing my mom told me was that, she had like almost a good 10 years of her life, she would come to my school, like walk up the hill, and our school is on top of a hill, so she would walk up the hill, and she would say that is like a walk of shame, because she was so worried, who would come and complain about her son that day, right? So when I went to the college, she said that, like, please don't make me come to your college. It's in Bangalore. I can't come. I live in Trivandrum. I can't come there. Please manage your college by yourself. And I always think there are two identities of me. I split the Midun and the Noble. In Trivandrum, because there were like multiple Midun in my classroom, people used to call me Noble. And I think all the attribution, the imposter, the rebel, the chaotic child, everything was the Noble. And the child that I personally like myself was the Mithun. And when I went to Bangalore, I started accepting more of that parts. Um, I have good friends. I found a class that I liked. I found a course that I liked. And in one of those classes, they were discussing about ADHD, which was in our abnormal psych paper. And everything about that particular thing checked, right? Like, I was curious. I was basically distracted. I could not finish my task on time. I had a problem with time management. I had a problem with emotional regulation. All of this checklist ticked. And I kind of understood that maybe this is ADHD, right? And I was not very sure about it. But then I went and read up on again, did few other tests outside. Kind of figured that this is what I have. But I was too afraid to go tell this to anyone, because there was already enough labels on me, right? Like being the outcast, being the one who's constantly in trouble. So I don't want another label on top of me. So I did not tell this to anyone and kind of kept this to myself. But that changed my perception. I started looking at it from a lens saying that, okay, who are other people with ADHD who has done well in life? I started looking for role models. I started looking for other people who has kind of used this as a strength to get ahead in life. And I also realized there are a lot of good things that come up with when you have ADHD, which is basically you have hyperfocus. I realized there was a lot of good things about me as well. And I started focusing on that. Um, I realized that to build friendships, I need to stop being the one who is pushing other people and start giving more of myself. Because there is a mistrust that I built all my life by not having friends and people constantly trying to put me in trouble. I just started trusting people and started offering myself fully to them. That started working. And by the end of the college, I really wanted to be in a career that was creative and something that I really was passionate about, or be in psychology. But my mom convinced me, saying that all your life you have been struggling to make it to a point, and now that you're there, please take something that's safe and secure so that finally she can have peace. I know she meant well with all her good intentions, and I was able to crack into a government, very public sector government banking job, very secure 9 to 6 job, no tension, nothing, money will come on time, do the minimum, kind of a job. I went there and I hated every bit of it. And I started losing me as a person. I was not enjoying the job. I was struggling on it on a day-to-day basis. Then one day, one of my friend called me and said that she wanted to meet. I mean, who was my colleague in my college, and we used to constantly say that this job is going to kill us one day. I went into a house. I knocked on the door. The door did not open. Then we called the owner, probably thinking that she was not there or something like that. They came, and then there was some smell coming from the room. And then they kicked open the door, and I saw her hanging on the fan in that house. And that for me was a very painful moment, to think that I could have been on the other side because I hated my job as much as her. And then I told my mom, right? I don't want a job where which would kill me. I'd rather have a life where I would do things that matter to me. And like, I mean, the understanding that you can live your today as the last day in this world uh, is very life transformative that way. And after that, I left my job. I actually took like a 1 year break. Uh, Tried to starting my business. I had zero skills. I'm very distractible. I were like from an entrepreneur lens, I had like very few skills. I was not good at communicating with people. I was not good at probably selling things. I was not good at like building a tech platform or anything like that. I had good amount of people around me, my professor from my college, my friends, all who supported to start my company, but we were not making money. It's very hard to make money as a social enterprise in this country. And we were living technically at 100 rupees a day, having like 20 rupees. Those are like 10 rupee tea. And we really used to measure that amount of money because that's all that we had at that point of time. So I had to go back to work while running this on the side. Um, and then one child came across to us, who was a child like me, who was this rebellious kid in school, in whom I could see my own childhood. And he also had the similar parents. He also has a dad who was saying that I need to fix him, and a mother who said that I don't know what's wrong with him, but I see a lot of good potential in him. And she sounded like my mother, and I kind of connected with her. And then I realized that probably this is my calling. Probably I am that one child who can think as a last bencher, who thinks like the last bench, like who thinks like the child on that last bench, who cares about every other child in the classroom. I wanted to go and support them. I did not know like how could I make a business out of it, but I started supporting them in school, by giving them a shadow teacher who was basically one-on-one person with whom they could go to school and get the support for them in the school. And that's where Insight started. And over the years, we currently have a team of over 200 plus psychologists. We work in about 100 plus schools. And we realized like a lot of mothers, when they have a child who has like any kind of neurodiverse conditions like autism, ADHD, or learning disability, they leave their job to take care of them. Because taking care of a child is a full-time time commitment. And that's where we kind of realized that by supporting these children in the homes, these mothers can go back to work. When some parents and people tell me that, like, my child has grown out of ADHD, my child has grown out of autism, I smile at them because I don't think that I ever did. It's a very core part of me. I'm still unorganized. I still can't maintain a schedule. I'll forget my meetings. So I have an EA who takes care of it. I basically build systems and structures that would be able to support me. I get into my hyper focus mode and probably can do 2 days where I won't talk to anybody and get my work done. And then there are days where I get completely burned out, run away from my business where nobody can reach me, and then probably take 2 days where my brain is overthinking in its maximum capacity to solve for the problem, and then come back and do my work. Um, my emotional filters can go from 0 to 10. I'm the nicest person sometimes in the room, and the next moment I can just explode. But people around me, I always been vulnerable to them, telling them who I am, and this is who I am, and they accept me with my deficits. I'm not a CEO who will put a coat and try to cover up what I do in my life or how I live my life. And that has cultivated a very strong team around me who accepts me for my vulnerabilities and who I am and let me be them. So they even make the joke saying that they are my shadow teachers, that they take care of me in the org and protect me from what I could do when I lose my control. When neurotypical brains, it doesn't work for you. Same, the advice doesn't work for your kids. So you need a tribe, like the same way that I was able to find a community. I feel JNS helps you build that community around you, where you can look for support, where you can look for advice, or even reaffirm who you are as a parent, who you are as a therapist, or who you are as a child, to know that there are things that's going right for you, or learn from this, and that you can use to support your child, or if you're an adult, probably take that in your life to go forward. Thank you, JNS, for having me, and this has been a pleasure being here and talking about neurodiversity and my journey through this.
Hello everyone. I'm so happy that Josh Talks has brought this channel out where we can hear the stories of the incredible mothers and fathers of autistic children. I had somebody in my own family who was autistic. If you are the parent of a young child who has autism, please share your information with Josh Talks in the form below. This will help Josh Talks better understand the problems that you face and the content that needs to be created. Your information will be kept confidential. Only a few members of the team will have access to this data who will call you to have a short conversation with you.